Hi there mate, how's it going? It's Benja here, and this is a breakdown and review of 1923 episode 7 titled The Rule of 500. The penultimate episode of the season features Teonna's father runs his horse finding Isashi's body. It is not clear if Isashi was his mother or if she was his mother-in-law, but that's beside the point. He figures lawmen must have killed her because of the tracks outside. Thieves usually don't shoe their horses, and lawmen do, which means the government must have been responsible for this. This is when Hank's son Pete enters the frame with the news about Teonna's escape, and runs his horse tells Pete to go back using a different route to avoid detection. He will catch up to Pete once he buries Isashi and picks up his stuff. Later that day, priests from Teonna's school run into Pete and forcefully detain him when he refuses to cooperate. They plan to take him to the school, so a priest stays with him while the other two go after the sheepherd's tracks, because Pete mentioned that that's what he was doing out there, herding sheep. Things get heated between the priest and Pete as the priest keeps scorning the natives, while Pete responds by slighting the priest's beliefs. The priest can't take it anymore and he's about to kill Pete, but that's when Runs his horse shows up and scalps the priest. We saw him earlier finding Pete's horse and he tracked him here to save the day. He kills the priest and eats his quote-unquote soul, which I assume refers to his heart. Before Runs his horse and Pete can get to Teonna and Hank, the other two priests find Teonna and go after her. Hank is unseen and he's able to shoot them both. Thinking that both priests are dead, Hank puts his rifle down to carry the injured Teonna, but it turns out one of the priests lives. He picks up Hank's rifle and shoots him. He gets closer to Teonna to shoot her next. He takes a shell from Hank's body to reload, but Teonna smashes his head in with a big rock and survives. Hank, on the other hand, doesn't appear to be as lucky. This was the most consequential and exciting part of the episode, and I was sad to see Hank die, similar to how I felt when Luca passed away on his tugboat. Neither of them were majorly important characters, but they helped Teonna and Spencer when they were both in dire straits. And luckily Teonna's father is on his way to her, so hopefully she'll be okay, though psychologically I doubt she'll ever get over this much suffering. In the meantime, Banner gets arrested outside his new house given to him by Donald, and the mischievous sheepherder learns that Jacob has survived the ambush. Jacob, Jack, and their men accompany the sheriff and his deputies as they make the arrest, after which Banner tells Jack that he was lucky to survive 2 different attacks, but he will not be as lucky a 3rd time. Sheriff McDowell figures that's a confession. And that's gotta be that, right? Banner will be put away for good by the justice system. No, not so fast. Clyde, who was recently hired as a livestock agent, informs Donald, who is outside one of his mines, that Banner just got arrested. Donald thinks arresting Banner was a mistake. They should have killed him if they wanted to get rid of him, because Donald has the means to get him freed. He gets in touch with his lawyer, Chadwick Benton, who visits Banner in jail and tells him to not say anything until his arraignment the next day. Donald is happy to learn that Judge Rollins will preside over the case, and Chadwick will meet Rollins outside his chambers and make sure that the judge understands how crucial Banner is to Donald's operations. Rollins will set bail even though this is a murder case, and Banner will get out, at least temporarily. Banner also asks Chadwick to take care of the 2 prostitutes who were at his house when he got arrested, and Donald wants to handle this matter himself. We soon learn why as Donald reveals his deviant side. He's a sadistic frick, so he enjoys watching one of the hookers spank the other one with a belt. Meanwhile, back at the Yellowstone, Kara and Elizabeth anxiously await Jack and Jacob's return. Kara keeps writing letters to Spencer as an alternative to writing a journal, and she urges Elizabeth to try writing too, but that's not her style. She'd rather do something like baking a cake to take her mind off of things. So Kara teaches her how to bake a cake, and the men arrive when the ladies are in the middle of their baking session. Later on, as they're enjoying some drinks and cake at the dinner table, Jack is reading the newspaper and this starts a political conversation between him and his uncle Jacob. They find out about a new commission being formed in Washington to regulate mining, and this will be headed by the bosses of mining companies like Donald. And Jacob goes, quote, "That should tell you all you need to know about politics, son," end quote. Jack points out that Jacob is no different because he's a cattleman in charge of regulating cattle. He's doing the same thing Donald's doing. This prompts a long monologue by Jacob about a scientific study showing how problems start to arise whenever the population of a tribe exceeds 500 people, and the strongest people take advantage of the weakest if there isn't a government. Quote, "Government is man's way of trying to control our behavior, but it can't be controlled. It is what we are. Sooner or later, the kind of people who would enrich themselves at your expense will use the government to do it." End quote. Jacob's argument as it relates to his family is this: no matter what you do, people like Donald will use government organizations to dominate others, so why shouldn't we do the same and use those organizations for our benefit? Jack asks him about right and wrong, and Jacob says there is no such thing. There's only what's good for this ranch and your family. This conversation summarizes the entire Dutton family's mindset perfectly, all the way from James Dutton in 1883 to John Dutton in the 21st century. Every single Dutton we've met prioritizes their own families and ranch's well-being over things like religion or general ideas of ethics or laws or patriotism or anything else you can think of. Those are not factored in. They're only viewed as tools to be used in their single-minded pursuit of protecting their ranch and their family. Last but not least, Spencer and Alex are dropped off in Italy and they're able to book passage to the US and they will leave in a few days. The now married couple are enjoying some of the local delights as well as each other's company when they run into the guy Alex was supposed to get married to. Things are about to get very awkward in Sicily. Well, they're taking their sweet time with the second half of the season, aren't they? With only one episode left to go, we've seen very little plot progress after the mid-season break, and I'm sure that has understandably bothered some viewers. It hasn't bothered me too much. I usually prefer this slow burner style because it is more realistic. For example, it's taking Spencer quite a bit of time to go back to the US. They could have had a time jump here if they wanted, but the way they're doing it depicts the slow nature of travel back in those days. And the same thing goes for Teonna and her storyline. She's on the run and she started out in a different state, North Dakota I think. And this escape is not something you want to resolve too quickly because that would be unrealistic from a pacing standpoint. That said, even though I'm seeing the logic in the way they've structured part 2, I have to say that so far I've enjoyed it considerably less than part 1. Understanding why these narrative choices were made and enjoying them are two separate things, and yeah, I still like the show, but less than I did after the first 4 episodes. This week's installment, for example, was a lot less hectic than I expected, because with only about 2 hours of screen time left in the season, I figured we would get more plot progress than we did. What did you think about episode 7? Leave your comments down below, like this video if you've enjoyed this breakdown, and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. That is it for now, take care and see you in the next video.